Hi, welcome to Get a Job, Tips and Secrets for the Academic Job Market. I'm Lee Hall, Associate Professor of Literacy Studies at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. You can find me online at leahall.wordpress.com where I talk about teaching in higher ed. And if you have questions, if there's things you want me to address on here, please send me an email, leahall39@gmail.com. All right, today's question. Do you have any questions for us, right? So when you are on the job market at any stage, right, be it in a phone interview, be it in person, at some point people are going to say, hey, you have any questions for us? And the person that brought this question to the table today is asking, what do I say when people ask me if I have any questions for them? So I'm going to give you some suggestions today. So first, you always have questions. Never say I don't have any questions, okay? And here's a trick. If you're scared, if you're having a deer in headlights moment, just ask a question. It doesn't matter. Even if you already know the answer, nobody at the table knows you know the answer. So just putting a question out there to get people talking, even if you know the answer to it already or you think you do, great, fine, do it, okay? Because even if you ask 5 questions, and you already know the answers to all 5 questions and you honestly have no more questions, nobody knows this. So asking questions, at least you seem engaged, right? And I'm not saying that you're not engaged, because if you've done your research and you've been paying attention all day and you just feel like you've exhausted all possible questions, that's great. Good for you. But if you're in front of a committee or a dean or a department chair, just ask 1 or 2 questions at least, okay? I would say in general 3 to 5 is probably a good number of questions to have on hand, and then you can decide what makes sense in the context to throw out. Now, what I've done here is giving you some suggestions, and I wouldn't necessarily word the questions this way if I was asking them. These are just things to sort of get you thinking and for me to talk through here. And the other thing to know is that you'll see that there's things missing, right? Like, we're not talking about salary. We're not talking about startup packages. We're not talking about... we're not talking about like what's your timeline for your job when you're going to make a decision, right? That's not what we're talking about here, okay? This is like when people say, do you have any questions for us? And what they mean is, do you have any questions about the job, okay? So all of that stuff aside about salary, startup, when are you making your decision? Here are some things, because I think you already know to ask those kinds of questions, or they're in your head. Here are some things that you can ask, all right? So first of all, if you've got any questions, right? Anything that you need clarity on, anything that you're confused on, that's a question. And when you come to the job, it could be a phone interview, because you'll get this question on phone interviews. Excuse me. And when you come in person, I would recommend that you have a notebook where you have questions that you've already written down prior to coming into the situation, and then keep adding to it during the day, okay? So you can always refer to your notebook, pull it out, got your questions, let's go. So, all right, first of all, if there's anything you need clarification about, obviously you're going to ask that. But again, something that's related to the job, okay? Ask people to talk about the programs that you're going to be working in, right? You can ask them to talk about the challenges, right? The successes, anything that strikes you as very interesting. You can have them tell you more about particular classes. Ask them to tell you about your students, right? Who are these students that you're going to be working with? What are their backgrounds? Where do they come from? How would they describe the students? And that could be undergraduate, master's, PhD, whatever. Can you tell me more about research support, okay? And that could be any number of things, right? That could be getting at startup packages for assistant professors. But it could also be like, who's in-house here that can help me write grants? If I need, a statistician to support me on a grant, is that available here, right? Who's going to help me submit large grants if that's your thing, okay? That may not be your thing. This question may not be appropriate for you, but think about that, right? Like, what if you were going to a place where you're expected to write grants, or you want to write large grants? There need to be some support systems in place to help you do that. What are they? Okay. You can ask how they support assistant professors. And by this, what I'm getting at is, how supportive is the environment to making sure that you get tenure, all right? Or to helping you be able to get tenure, okay? Are they putting assistant professors in charge of programs? Well, that's not good, probably. Are they, putting assistant professors on a ton of committees? You want to be on committees, but you don't want to be on every committee. That's not good. So, how do they support assistant professors in ways that set them up well in terms of getting tenure, right? So these are just some general questions that you can ask. Definitely have some, look through the website. If there are people that resonate with you, do research very similar to yours, you might have specific questions for them as well. If there's somebody that you didn't get to meet, and you've got questions about that individual and the work that they do, you might be able to ask about that as well. If you're meeting with doctoral students, okay, because sometimes you'll have those meetings, you can ask them to describe their experiences, right? Anytime you get to meet with students, right? What have your experiences been like at this university? What kinds of support do you get? What do you like about it here? What do you think could be done better? What do you look for in an advisor? Okay, what do you like about the advising that you're getting? What kinds of things would you do differently? That sort of stuff. All right. So nothing overly complicated, but definitely keep a list of questions handy. Have some prepared that you can just throw down. Again, even if you know the answer already, it's okay. Throw it down again. Ask. Never just say that you have no questions. All right. This will help you look prepared. And it will show that you're serious about the job and getting to know what the expectations for the job are.